Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. I'm an interviewer, author, journalist, and broadcaster. And what you're about to hear is one of the 1,400 interviews I did over a 30-year period for nearly all major media outlets in Ireland. But do allow for the fact that many of the interviews were done for the print media and recorded on cassette tapes. So some are, let's say, sonically challenged. But sonic considerations should give way to historical significance, I believe. And I'm glad to say that at least some powers that be in RTE Radio 1 agreed with me on this, and broadcast between the years 2015 and 2018 many of my interviews in a series called The Joe Jackson Tapes Revisited. What follows is a program I was going to broadcast in that series but never did. And this podcast differs in one major sense from all those shows. For one thing, it's based on an eBook, Bob Geldof, The Joe Jackson Interviews Plus. The plus in the title refers to the fact that the eBook contains not only the two major interviews we did, first in 1989, then in 2001, it also contains a fragment of memoir. And growing up in Dun Laoghaire I, I did know Geldof, albeit from a distance that was largely defined by the fact that he came from the so-called right side of the tracks and I came from the other side. Even so, our paths crossed on countless occasions in local teenage meeting places such as Murray's Record Centre, the Bamboo Café, the People's Park, and at parties. And we had a mutual friend called Peter Finnegan. Later again, Bob and I met in the Dole office, and I have fond memories of us talking about bands like The Animals and Dr. Feelgood, and Bob saying he wanted to be a rock star. Me, I wanted to be a writer. Not only that, by 1977, he had become a rock star, and I'd become a photographer for Irish rock magazine Hot Press. I photographed Geldof on stage in Dalymount Park, and at the launch of the first album by the Boomtown Rats. All of this is probably why towards the end of the second part of this interview, it'll follow in another podcast, Geldof says he's uncomfortable being interviewed by me because I know too much about him. Although that comment may have more to do with the instinctual insights into his psyche, which I stumbled across during this interview, and in which the man is mercilessly truthful at times, and at other points tears into me because of what he calls the intrusive nature of the questions I asked in relation to his late wife, Paula Yates. Later, I heard that Bob phoned my editor and said that I had been a bit too hard on him, to which the editor, fair dues to him, replied, "Jesus, Bob, actually I didn't know that was Geldof's full name, did you? Joe was only being as hard on you as you were when you worked for this magazine." No doubt, Geldof probably doesn't agree with my contention that by pushing him as hard as I did, I got him to deliver the most honest interview he had given, or has maybe given since. Either way, Bob has not spoken to me since the interview, either professionally or on a personal level, if our paths cross socially, as happened recently when we were at an exhibition of hot press covers. He basically grunted. Anyway, the interview was done in the Soho Club in London, and it coincided with the release of his album Sex, Age and Death. You can read the original typescript, never published in full in any magazine that carried the article, on joejacksoninterviewer.com.
Flaws? You didn't see any flaws within yourself in this period of self-development?
I am totally flawed.
Right.
Or perennially flawed.
Right.
I've said to you I'm melancholic by disposition. I'm sure I'm very difficult to live with. You know.
All right. I don't want you to get statistics again. I know you don't want to.
About what? Why I'm difficult?
Yeah.
Because of my makeup and my personality and all that stuff. I'm sure.
Are
I
you
am.
domineering? Are you domineering daddy, husband, lover?
I don't know.
That's what you say goes, and everyone must better stand in line and go along with it.
Well, again, that's personal stuff, and I don't want to go into. And I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I don't want to get into bouts of. I can, deep self-analysis. I'm a strict father.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Not that they pay much fucking attention to it.
All right. Okay, so Fifi couldn't come to you now and say she's going with a rock star in the back of a Daimler in Dublin, giving head.
Well, a daughter wouldn't do that to any father.
A daughter wouldn't tell.
Well, she wouldn't say that the specific, but if she was saying she was going off with a rock star, I'd say, let me put you straight at this particular profession, darling,
Well, you would, wouldn't you? You would have to give that advice at this stage. But you can get it from your book, can't you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but I'm not.
But what is it? Again, I know. I understand why you're reluctant to humour some of my questions, and I'm sorry if they seem.
I'm not humouring you.
They seem to be.
But I mean, but of course it is.
But I want to better understand. I mean, the texture. Your album does remind me of Lennon's Primal album. It reminds me of Blood in the Tracks. And you know, even whether you're a Dylan fan or a Lennon fan, a lot of us wanted to read what was the actual landscape that led to this artistic landscape. So
well, I will tell you
that's more. So inside your head, I would like to know more about it. You know, and there's a lot of anger. You and I talked about before how anger fires your psyche. That's been there, and it's a motivating factor.
But even if anger didn't fire my psyche, don't you think anger would be present in the circumstances?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But
again, I stressed to you.
All right.
And if I don't want to answer some, as you know, I'd say I don't want to answer. No. And if I do, I'll be ruthlessly honest. Inside Your Head is a song of bewilderment. There is no anger directed at any of the characters or individuals involved in our story. There isn't. Anger is absolutely a useless emotion, okay? It is ultimately, once it fleetingly glances through your head, I think I said it somewhere else, but it's the sediment that sinks. That's it. And inside your head is absolute bewilderment at the piteous cruelty and tragedy that befell us all. And, you know, it's what the fuck is going on? Someone out there is taking the piss. Someone out there is taking the piss. Not you, not me, not that. Someone out there is seriously taking the piss. And that's what it is. I'm like,
someone being who? Sorry, I
don't know who. You know, it's that expression. You know, fucking someone's taking the piss, gun. You know, it's that English thing. You know, and it's, you know, what the fuck is going on? Are you just quoting me something from some other fucking profile about, you know, some part of the last few years where, you know, or whatever, she said this, that, and the other, you know? No, about what, you know, Paul was saying or something. And, you know, to which my response would be, what the fuck is going on inside your head, you know? And
you can put another verse on it.
You know, it's like, I didn't know that, you know, because I don't read this stuff, you know. So, okay. I mean, but that's absolutely what it is. And anger at that it happened at all, you know. I mean, you must accept that. I would tell you otherwise.
That what happened at all?
That the whole thing, that it happened like that it happened the way it did. What? And bewilderment at that. What the fuck's going on? And someone's fucking taking it. You know, what is this?
Who are you singing to? The Ghost of Paul and the Ghost of Hutchins?
No, not the Ghost, because Paul wasn't there when any of these songs were written, and that's important to remember.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
You know, and I don't remember writing songs. You know, when Pete moved the stuff in, and I was listening to this minimal music, you know, to these sequences, that absolutely suited this minimal emotional landscape. And so I began to think, I don't want beginnings, middles and ends, you know, because nothing's beginning or middling or ending here. And, you know, eventually I sort of wandered down and I go doom, 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 at the bottom strings of the guitar, and he go, you know, is that a song sort of thing? I don't know. And I put down the guitar and mope off upstairs, and eventually that doom 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 became this record. But he had to fucking deal with that, which he did brilliantly. And at the beginning there was just these sequences, some of which turned into New Routine or Mind in Pocket or one of these things. And you know, there were no songs. There was just noises and occasional lyric and stuff like that. So when you say, is it at that? But
do you agree it's somewhat like Lennon's primal album or not?
I really hadn't thought about that. Like, you know, somebody else said, is this your Blood in the Tracks? Or is this, or they said, is it this generation's Blood in the Tracks? Is it what generation? I'm nearly fucking 50, you know. And
alright, but you know the Primal Therapy album, don't you?
Well, I do.
And How Do You Sleep? As that goes of what the fuck's going on.
Oh, How Do You Sleep?
You know what I mean?
But that's the director of Paul.
It doesn't matter who the object is, and you're.
No, but that's How Do You Sleep? That's like How Do You Sleep
at night? Yeah, you know.
You said, isn't it? You said that you said it's directed at him, and he says it is. I'm telling you, this isn't. This is, of course, like, you know, But the lines could often pertain to me in the song. Often.
But you didn't put a noose around your neck, though.
No, that does pertain. What the fuck? Why?
Why would you do that?
That's what I say. Why?
And do you feel guilty about putting a noose around his neck? You were accused of making him do it.
But stop
These are the questions
quoting.
that people... No, I'm not...
You're the only one. I've just done The Guardian, the Daily Telegraph, the Sunday Times art section, Marie Claire in the big issue. That's it.
You're the only one who's quoting what?
You're the only one who's coming back with other newspapers about guff, about what they speculate I'm feeling. I'm telling you what I felt.
I'm not...
The rest is speculation.
No, I interviewed Paula. I wrote an obituary for Paula. I researched her life before I wrote it.
And I bet you your research is 99% shite.
Okay, but it's as far
Not
as
your
I feel
fault.
as a journalist. Yeah, I admit that it was this much maybe true insight. But I still felt something, and I tried to write from that perspective.
Good, I know, that's great.
So I'm also saying that I'm not quoting a tabloid, I'm just quoting her alleged suggestion when he died that you fucking did it.
Yeah, but
But when then people hear you with a lyric that says, why the fuck did you put a noose around?
I don't say that.
Somebody's, what the fuck is going on inside your head to make you do that?
Yeah.
Your fans, people who fucking care deeply for you, are going to, someone has to think, or maybe I'm just an aberration on the landscape. Maybe you're part of the fucking reason, Bob. Where's the verse about that?
But that's not right.
All right.
And I won't go into why it's not right.
That you're part of the reason.
Why I'm not.
Yeah. But when you were putting out these lyrics, or even singing it with Pete, did he not say, this is going to open up the whole floodgates to...
I'm well aware
But
of
you've
that.
stayed quiet since, obviously.
And I'm still staying quiet. I'm talking about what I went through.
Right. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
So when I asked you if you feel guilty...
Why would I talk about it? As I say, it's the pornography of intrusion. Who am I addressing?
But you're addressing it in the song.
No, I'm addressing myself in the songs.
Right,
This
that's
record
what
is
I
for
mean.
me. And what you think about it or anyone else, I really don't mind. I genuinely, honestly don't mind. There's no single on this. A video, record company said a video. I said, why? MTV would never play it, so why anyway? They said, well, you can't go to Japan, so send it to Japan. I said, okay. So I got a mate of mine who's never made a video in his life to come over and shoot a bit of movie of me sitting in a white room in Spain pretending to play the guitar. That's the fucking video, Press photographs. I got one of the kids' friends' mother who's doing a night course in photography to come to the flat and take some pictures. They're the pictures no doubt you've got. Fine, they're great. That's it. I don't really, the record makes no demands in a contemporaneous sense. It doesn't jump out of the speakers or your speakers in your car and demand you pay attention. If you wish to go into that world, no, I don't imagine why you would, of the record, then it's there for you to do that. Don't you understand the difference between something that is, it sounds Suits Corner, but forgive me, a bit of art, if you like, and something that you seek to reduce always to the empirical, because the two are inextricably divided.
They are indeed, but you have also already said that even from the start of your career, and I believe it's some of your greatest songs, were deeply personal, a personal impetus, and almost like diary writing, free association or whatever.
Yeah.
So this, to a lot of people, will be read as another musical chapter of his dad in. You can't.
No, but they're absolutely right. It cannot have sex, age, and death. It's shorthand for experience.
Yeah.
This can only have been in the last 6 years. I wish it wasn't. I'd love to have been able to write a different record. In other words, that this experience never happened, but it did. And so that's it. So you get that now, and the next one will be something else. All you can write about is that which you've experienced, or else what are you doing? And, it helps, of course, to see Picasso's A Woman Weeping and know that it's Dora Maar and what happened between them, because then it really becomes personal. But other than that, and I'm not equating myself in any way with the genius of Picasso, but other than that, it's a profound piece that you stare at, and because it resonates with absolute intuitive understanding of what he means. Now, hopefully, someone in Germany who has no knowledge of tabloid Bob will pick this up, and that's where, where I sell quite a lot of records, much to my dismay, still in Italy and France and Germany and fucking all that, where all they know me about is the music and look at the lyrics and say, oh, cool or uncool, whatever. What they'll get, hopefully, is an understanding and a universality that comes out of any work that you might do. So you keep saying, but I read that this person said that, but think of the circumstances.
I actually said that your book would be read as a musical coda to its value in another chapter. And you've said, be it Picasso or Dylan is building the tracks, and John Lennon writing about.
And I'm not
no, I know
in any way
I won't
equating
do that. I won't do that. What I am saying, and I absolutely agree with you, that our knowledge of that painting and their relationship, Dylan and Sarah, Lennon and Paul, helps deepen an understanding of the song. But I do understand your also reluctance to furrow too deeply into the biographical context that gave.
Because every single context that you've given me has been utterly wrong. You know, and I understand that that's not your fault because you've read what you believe are papers of record.
I have, yeah.
You know, and like, but what record? I said nothing. You know, and there was an obvious agenda and reason for maybe other people saying things. You know, that you must take on board in a situation like this.
All right.
You know.
All right. So there was no truth in any of the stuff I kind of threw your way. To try to give our readers and myself a socio-psychological context for these songs, or whatever it is.
The socio-psychological context of this songs is what happened to me in the last 5 years.
All right.
In my head.
All right. Okay.
Or the feeling.
Was there ever another 5 years in your life like it?
No.
Was there ever another kind of... You don't want to address directly how you felt about the death of Paula, because all the songs were written, and I'm glad to clarify that, before she died.
Yes.
Have you written about her death?
No.
Did that come out? Is that one of the 7 songs that aren't included?
No, they were all done before.
Will you write about Paula's death?
No.
In a song or in another volume of autobiography?
No, I respect absolutely your right to ask these questions, but they're wildly inappropriate, but no.
Why are they no, you tell me why they're wildly inappropriate. I think a lot of people would like to, with the honesty that put that book, like, has kids reading it in Ireland, I think there are millions of people who read it who would say, I'd love to fucking see him be as, no, let me finish, right? See him be as raw and honest and upfront, not just in what some would call vignettes, 10 slices or snapshots of poems and songs, but to do with his life in that 5 years, even if it's not to offset all that shit that I'm telling Jackson he's read.
Fine, that might be so, but this is still a higher form of talking about that.
The essences in songs?
Yeah, absolutely.
You really think that?
Yeah, I absolutely think that you would get a far better understanding intuitively of what it is. You know, you might want to read the story, but this is the story of feeling, and that's I know that sounds crap, but you know, really that's what it is. I mean, because you're an empiricist, you read these things and say that must be true, and you cobble together and what you believe is a total understanding. Whereas look, you could take every tabloid paper and write a biography of me from those tabloids, okay, and I would read it, and I would probably be very interested in it, but I would not recognize 78%, except the names, of the events in that book, or the motivations, or the quotes. I wouldn't recognize them as being any part of my life because they would be utterly false. Tabloid Bob is a character who lives out there, and as a result, because he's a separate character, anything can be attributed to him or put upon him and live, which is what, of course, intuitively everyone who reads tabloids understand, because we know that they are not in any way influenced by the political judgments of the tabloids.
I'm talking about Hot Press Bob.
Hot Press,
2 albums, Bob. The Bob I've talked to before, interviews with Paula. I'm not basing everything.
No, I know you're not. I'm not reflecting it onto you. Right. I'm just saying that, you know, you've a long understanding of me and specifically, and Paula somewhat, and
but I do accept your thing that's small.
It is that small. I mean, you know me enough that I don't obfuscate. I will try honestly to answer it. If I write a book like that, or if I write songs like that, I'm not about to avoid or evade questions. It's just, you know, your question, will you write a song about Paul's death? Well, where? How do you do that? I could write a song about the feeling of it, but you might even recognize it as being from that, you know.
Well, I mean, in the context of saying what's unsaid.
I couldn't.
inappropriate.
Well, it's not inappropriate because there would be a lot to write about, but I couldn't really write about because it's so contemporaneous. There are too many people alive now who may be hurt or feel, by it, and some things that I actually no other characters before all this are in other events, and also there's some things which I'm various contracts or whatever I can't say about or can't do. So it wouldn't be as
Contracts with publishers
or whatever, or things that I've done that I can't mention, deals or stuff that I would want to, or the negotiations for something that were peculiarly interesting, and you might know the characters are funny or what a fucker this is. I couldn't do that. I'd be sued. So couldn't be as honest. And with regard to, the events of the last 5 years, I just wouldn't.
Right. Was the settlement after the marriage broke up that you both stay silent? Did you not write a book?
No, not at all.
All right, so you're free to write it, but you just don't feel you're in a position to do so.
I'm not in a position to do so. I just wouldn't.
All right.
Out of a sense of honour.
All right. Do you really feel I'm trying to get kind of tabloid headlines or something?
Yeah.
Do you? Okay,
And you're the only one.
I don't think I am, actually.
Well, you're the only one of the lot I've just
brought
done.
up this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think...
And you don't accept my belief that, the better I know about Paul and John, the more I understand the Primal album, or John and Yoko, the better I understand that. You don't believe that? Or Sarah?
I think people know. They know. They know. They know.
All right, so tell me a little more about the songs then from your perspective.
No, I will as we go through it. Go on. I mean, why are you going like this?
Oh no, my hands because it's feeling like that for the past hour.
Okay.
I'm just shielding myself from the right line. I'm looking at your eyes when you're talking to make sure I get exactly what you're saying. No, just that I don't actually mean to be going to try. I'm not trying for tabloid headlines, but I know Hot Press. We've interviewed you for nearly 20 years. I photographed you 20 years ago, and I mean I find the past 5 years and the resonances that echoed in me when I listened to the album made me want to get as deep an understanding of the context. And to tell you the truth, everything I'm bouncing back at you, I didn't read deliberately over the years, but I got a big fat fucking file last night. I read your book, of course, so maybe I'm too in tune with, but they weren't tabloids. There was no tabloids in my file. I got the Irish Times.
It doesn't make any difference. They can't know. All they can know is things that were, foreign agenda, my silence, and by my silence then anything can be imposed on that. It's saying that's this, that's that, because there is no comeback, and so that's what it is, and you've just got to really ignore that stuff.
Is that why you chose to be silent all these years?
Yeah.
I mean, paraphrase Tory Amos, just go with your song.
All you know and all you need to know is, sounds like truth is beauty, and that is all you need, and that is true. And but all you need to know is that a boy and a girl were together for 19 years, and in that speaks volumes.
All right.
That speaks volumes.
When you referred to Keats there,
yeah,
and you did say that Keats and Yeats helped you in this period of trying. Starting to
more than words
articulate what was more than what
words can say. Yeah, I absolutely, for some reason, devoured it. I mean, I like it anyway, but particularly Keats and Yeats too. But Larkin as well for that bleak.
Okay.
Larkin.
Oh, Larkin. Okay.
For that sort of bleak emptiness.
And what particularly by Yeats would have echoed would have helped you fucking furrow towards articulating again?
Good point. Keats, you could understand.
Yeah.
I don't know which specific. I'm very specific about Keats, but then I got deeper into amazing things. I mean, obviously, clearly in 10:15, what's that beautiful song, When I Am Old and by My Fireside?
Yeah.
And I think I say When I'm Old and Tired and Grey.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so those ones, those lyrical ones, so beautiful. But even...
And they found their way back out of the song, obviously.
They did, but even the ones we all had to learn by heart, I Should Arise and Go Now.
All right.
Just that absolute image of calm and, just... take me out there. I mean, essentially, I just wanted to disappear to the furthest corner of the world and howl into the grey void, but
that's what you did.
But you can't.
You described that to me earlier. That's almost what you did.
Yeah, but you can't, you know, because of
But how do you function as a father when you're that lost?
Oh, you do like everyone does. You put on the. We talked earlier about, and this shouldn't be on the thing, but we talked about the people in the plane and how do they do it, and so you keep it together. But you know, unfortunately, you keep it together. But it's.
But is that more of a strain?
Yeah.
Because you're operating.
Oh, totally.
Kind of unreal stuff.
Yeah,
well, it's not unreal. I don't mean unreal.
Well, you remember yourself as you were, and you put on that face.
Yeah, but you're trying to help emotionally your daughters who are going through maybe something, and you're bereft inside.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like
bereft.
Jesus.
That's the word I've been missing.
All right. Okay. You can have it. For all the grief I've been giving you. But that kind of thing also, and you do, there's the allusion to Dylan.
Well, I've done that. I mean, looking after number one is Lennon and Dun, you know, and I sort of do that a lot.
I should have started out by saying, let us not talk falsely, but you really put me out the window.
Well, you know, we're all keeping, it's a distant view.
But did you read Hornby's High Fidelity?
Yeah.
Well, you know the way he has a great passage in it where he talks about the pop belittles, and again, I'm not talking about A-Death.
Yeah.
But the issue of how many was there, Hank Williams, Leonard Cohen, even Sinatra, no one cares. Who actually doesn't belittle trying to deal with death through pop songs? I mean, when you said music helped, did you go, this is obscene that's sold as helping deal with this issue? Where did you find? There's a lot of people at times.
No, the record is not helping me deal with anything. It's
not your record. I mean, other voices, other singers.
No,
as opposed to Dylan, did Time Out of Mind.
It's not a favourite. It's an all-right record.
Okay. I believe you don't like the new one, but we'll into that.
How do you know?
John told me.
It's shite. It's absolutely shite.
Okay, so what helped you? I mean, were there, because a lot of us at times like that, I ended up turning to classical music. It's wordless music.
Well, Jan really sort of brought me into classical music. Right. I mean, that's her big contribution to the Geldof cultural lessons.
And it comes across on the album, of course, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Bach influence is pretty fucking heavy.
You know, so.
But what classical music did you go listen to?
She just puts it on, and I go, but I don't know who anyone is. But okay. I remember that record. I look at the sleeves, that one I put on the track. But
the kind of sort of classical music, Mr. Geldof. But what about pop singers? Did Dylan or Cohen or any of those, when you were unable to say the articulate?
No, I didn't listen to them.
Did you?
They weren't it at all.
All right.
Where the first records that I really started saying pop music is great again was Deserter Songs and R.L. Burnside.
All right, okay.
Yep, they were the ones. And then I did a stint on XFM here, and that was to sort of delve back into music. I mean, you know, that was really, and that was really...
Not to delve back into the history of music, just to get back into
the newest possible music.
Oh, okay.
Because there was nothing around I wanted to listen to, and just picking up tapes on the floor there, and like, there's so much new music. I had no idea, because I don't read enemy, don't go to pubs, you know, and so much great new music, and I became feverish with the excitement of it all again. And Pete had followed me into XFM with his little and set up in a little room, and I'd go in, and that was amazing, because he, you know, I said, listen to this, and so that was really fantastic, and I became really excited by the possibility of other people's music. It didn't reflect onto me, but like, you know, this is still happening. Those same chords still go mad inside you, you know.
And there was none of, like you said, the old poets like what would be the Larkin Yates or Keats. There was none of the greats in pop music that you said, like Lennon said this, Lennon was trying to hell the same way.
No.
None of that?
No. They didn't appeal to me for some reason.
Dylan, not even your... You know,
no, I mean, you know.
Yeah, I know. Not even Blood in the Tracks.
Not even Van.
Not even Idiot Land.
No, I didn't want to hear him. I tell you what,
those points I can see why critics...
D-Voice sent me the bootleg Blood in the Tracks about 2 years ago, and I just sat on the floor with my back against the wall, just riveted.
All right.
Riveted. And I just rang him and said, unfucking unbelievable.
All right.
You know, I mean, yes,
I've never heard it.
yes, it's a superb record. I mean, what are we saying? But this is like a separate record,
Right.
but at least as equally good and maybe better. It's just the first takes, raw,
Oh, right, okay.
and the interpretation is often so hugely different and beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. There's such a beauty in that record, you
All
know.
right. And when people say, "Is this?" You know, you say I'm 50. What do you mean? This generation's playing the tracks. I mean,
Well, somebody said it,
but they do come from a similar howling landscape. I mean, well, I'm not even making a qualitative judgment
Yeah.
here. I'm just saying
if they come from, I guess they
You
come
know.
from some.
where people are howling, whatever. And that's why I do make the Janoff, Lennon howl, the Dylan howl, or fucking some old blues man. You know, to me it has echoes of that. I mean, I see a record on as a blues record, postmodern blues, whatever you want to call it. You
Well, I
know.
don't listen. I
Howling in
can't.
landscape.
I mean, I know it's corny, but I can't listen to this.
What at all?
No,
Since when? Since finishing it?
since finish. I put it on once and I just too much.
Did you get through the 10 tracks?
No,
No. Where'd you stop?
but it's all right talking about it because talking about it, of course, you have to sort of think hard about, you know, like $6 Million Loser. Didn't know what that was, but it's fine. That's the point. Is that what you're hearing back at yourself when a record works, and what's absolutely true listening to this is I hear myself explained, and I needed that. I needed to put a shape to the experience, and I think that writers do that with novels, and I think songwriters probably do it, but in this case, because it's specific, as you pointed out, and personal, it puts shape, and I really needed that to the last 6 years, because it was so I'm rambling around inside me and not being able to come to, and it put a shape to that, and when I hear it back, my psyche says, that's right. It's like it addressed a little postcard back to itself, self-addressed, and it sits there and it's going, Pete, why do you want to do that? I said, I don't know, please, Pete, fuck up. I just want to do that. And he goes, that doesn't work. And I said, it does for me. And, you know, and there was a couple of tracks where he mixed it and I went back and did it, and it's like very different.
Do you feel you're reconciled to the tripartite forces mentioned in the title?
Yeah.
All? Even death?
Yeah, but that was easy. That was reconciled years and years ago because my mum bailed out when I was 7. And
Was it really?
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. I thank you for listening to this edition of the Joe Jackson Interviews podcast. More can be heard on my website, joejacksoninterviewer.com.